As soon as you see the red lights on, it's ready to go. They don't usually come. It depends.
Okay, it is 12:03, and we're going to start the Planning and Zoning Committee meeting on February 12th, 2026. My name is Matt Cardano, Director of Regional Planning. We have an all-new Planning and Zoning Committee this year, 5 new members of council. And so I thought I'd quickly just go over what this board does. The Planning and Zoning Committee serves as a city council policy review body for land use and zoning matters. Its primary role is to carefully review proposed zoning changes, regulations, before they go to full council for action. So there's really 3 things that you review. A zoning map amendment, which is commonly known as a rezoning. A citizen or someone has requested to rezone their property. A text amendment, which that's what we're kind of looking at here today, and that's changing the words of the zoning code. And then the third thing that you review is alley street vacations. What you mostly see are alley vacations that are requested by property owners. And then you make a recommendation to council. So
Hey, Matt, what
Yeah.
you're showing there is not what we got printed. Did it get updated?
Yeah, I handed out. So the
A
only
new
thing
one.
the only thing I changed
Got it.
was number 1.
I see it.
I made it more clear. Just these are the 3 things.
Thank you.
Everything else.
Thank you.
So all 3 of those are reviewed at Planning Commission. Planning Commission meets the same day. They meet at 9 a.m. And then, let's say it's a zoning amendment. The applicant will be here at Planning Commission. Planning Commission will then vote and make a recommendation, and then we'll tell them to come back to this meeting, and they'll kind of present the same information to you, and then you will make a recommendation. If one or both the Planning Commission and Planning and Zoning Committee recommend approval, it then goes to council, and we'll have its process there, but most likely we'll have its 3 readings and consideration. If both you and the Planning Commission vote no on the recommendation, then your report will be read at council, and the issue will not move forward. So.
What if one does and one doesn't?
Then-
Would there ever be an instance where you say no and then we'd say yes, or you'd say yes and we'd say no?
Well, but Planning Commission would say yes, you say no, it'll go for its 3 readings.
Okay, thank you.
It's only if both bodies say no, then it will die at council.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Yes.
So this morning meeting is coming to here then? Or is that decided?
No, that's decided.
Okay.
And then, so, and I'll skip ahead. What this committee does not do, so we don't issue variances. That's the Board of Zoning Appeals. A variance is relief from the zoning code. It does not approve site plans. So if a huge factory is being built or a fast food restaurant, you would not see that unless they had to rezone the property beforehand. Just if you're building a new Honda car factory, that simply goes to Planning Commission and it's approved and it's done. You do not grant conditional uses. That was this morning. We had a conditional use on Planning Commission. That's voted at Planning Commission and it's done.
Okay.
You guys don't see it, council doesn't see it. So your role is legislative and policy focused, not administrative.
Question.
Yes.
If I see how the flow goes, if they say no, do we ever see it?
Yes. If planning
So
commission
if planning
says no.
It still comes to us.
Yes.
And if we say yes, then it goes to council.
Yes.
If they say yes and we say no, it still goes, it gets read 3 times.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. And so what we're doing, so today, what we have, I'll kind of, any questions on the general, and you'll get the hang of it as we have more meetings. What we're doing today is, we had, was it January? In December, we had a zoning issue about a micro distillery. And that brought up a discussion of what things should be, or permitted use and conditional use. So staff and the administration were like, we should look at some of these. We've looked at them, and now we're going to have a discussion. These are kind of my recommendations. And now we're going to have just a working discussion. We can leave this meeting with, Matt, we like where we're at, move forward with legislation. We could leave this meeting with, make some changes and come back next month. Or we could leave this meeting with, this is the worst idea we've ever had. Please stop and cease and desist and just stop. So this is a working meeting, but you guys are kind of the gatekeepers to if this will move forward with actual legislation. So, other topics in the past, farm animals, maintenance, those things, they're discussed here. We kind of work on changes, updates, et cetera. And then eventually you guys are like, yes, Matt, move forward with legislation. Additionally, if you or your constituents are like, hey, let's look at fences setbacks, you could instruct me, Matt, work on some standards for fence setbacks, and then we'll bring it to planning and zoning for discussion. So I often get a lot of, who asked you to do this? Why are you bringing this up? How's this all work? Well, really zoning changes kind of start here. If you or someone or a citizen kind of starts here, we discuss it, and then we decide to move forward with legislation. So today, I'm not expecting, you're not going to make an approval, really provide me with feedback. I guess if you decided, yes, let's move forward, you could then vote, say, Matt, let's vote to move this forward, and then I would start to prepare this for council. I would give a letter to council with the proposed changes, and then council would refer it to planning commission and planning and zoning. And then you would make an official recommendation, and then it would go for its 3 readings. So today's, I know it's a little confusing, but today's just, the administration and I thought that these were some updates that should be brought forward. You're going to discuss them, and then we'll go wherever you guys think we should go.
I appreciated the definitions that you included, Matt, and kind of the layout. I thought that was very helpful and appreciated by council. For you guys here, when you went through the permitted use and the conditional use in the notes, did you have any questions about the differences in those two?
I didn't hear the permanent use, but
Permitted use and conditional use.
I know what conditional use is, and I've watched actually the last 2 meetings with the distillery. So, and that was riveting, and there was a lot covered in those, right? They really got into the issues very good. Push button. Yeah, recording, my bad.
Recording this.
Thank you. Anyhow, so what is permitted, and what is permitted? I know what conditional is.
It's on
So-
page 2 there, Kevin.
Okay.
So permitted is, permitted use that is it's allowed, so in C2, a permitted use is, it is a right. You have a right to create the list of permitted uses. There is no public hearing, no discretionary review, difficult to deny the use if it meets the code.
Because of the rights.
Because it
of
is
the
a right.
of the landowner.
But-
What is general offices 0-1?
So let me give you an example. So let's take, let's say a fast food restaurant goes out of business on Tiffin Avenue.
Okay.
That fast food restaurant, another fast food restaurant could move in without coming to City Planning Commission. The exception is if they plan on making substantial changes to the site. You know, if they're moving how the drive-through is set up, we're going to make them come to Planning Commission. Now, if fast food restaurants were a conditional use, so a fast food restaurant goes out and a new fast food restaurant wanted to move in, and fast food restaurants were a conditional use, they would have to come back to Planning Commission to get approved for the conditional use, even if they're not changing a thing.
Yeah, thank you. I understand.
And then, so conditional uses, they always have a public hearing, there's a formal review, and what I like to say, conditional uses have a lot of latitude. The planning commission can put a lot of conditions on a conditional use. So, it gives the city more oversight over a conditional use versus a permitted use.
And in general, conditional use, again, it's something that's going to have a more of an impact on the properties around it. So that's what,
Potentially, yes.
yeah, that's why we're having, rather than if it's just a neighborhood and they want to build a house is allowed in that.
Yeah.
In that
there's-
zone. So it's not a-
permitted use, there's no
Right.
review. So, with the context of what is a permitted use versus what is a conditional use, the next couple pages, we've gone through, I think there's 5 commercial districts. There's O1, which is office, C1, which is local commercial, C2, which is kind of regional commercial, and then there's C3, which is downtown commercial. So, like I said, this started with the Front Street Micro Distillery. We made them get a conditional use because that use was not specifically listed. However, that's not the most, it worked out that time, and it would work out most times. I do think it's better to have things in writing than to have it be gray, the way I should put it. So on the O1, if you go to the O1 district, so the O1, which is the office district, the first thing on our list is the list of permitted uses. We have accessory uses, general office, government uses, financial and insurance institutions, laboratories, medical offices, law offices, places of worship, professional offices, and the list goes on. So looking at this, my recommendation is that public, private parks, schools, both public and private, community centers, and schools, trade, business, commercial, that those 4 items be moved from permitted to conditional.
Matt, when we offer a conditional use on something, is it for that particular owner or does it extend to the property forever?
Very good question. That came up this morning. So zoning, in a large umbrella, it runs with the property.
Okay.
It does not care if you sell it. It's a tough situation to say Matt has the right and ability to do this thing, but when Jacob buys the land, he cannot. The laws don't like that. So yes, when a conditional use is granted, it runs with the property.
If the conditional use is for something different, and so if I get a conditional use for a public park or a private park, and now somebody buys it and they want to create emergency services there, something different that requires a conditional use.
It is specific,
Okay.
yes. So the conditional use was for a private park, and then any change to that follows the normal processes.
Thank you.
Matt, can there still be exceptions to that?
Can there be exceptions to that?
Yeah. Or is
Do you have
it
one in
s-
mind?
I was just thinking about this morning. If that changed to something that the neighborhood didn't want.
So this morning, so the conversation was, in C2, a contractor's office / facility, like plumber, landscaper, et cetera, that's a conditional use in the C2 district. So at this morning, we approved a conditional use for a contractor's office. If they wanted to turn it into another use or a different type of conditional use, they would have to come back through the process, back to planning commission.
Okay.
So, the conditional use is very specific. It was for a contractor's office. If you wanted to do, another conditional use, you'd come back and be subject to all the reviews again. Now, in that case, the conditional use for a contractor's office was approved, and it goes from a landscaper to a plumber. The city does not get to review that again, because a plumber falls under a contractor's office.
Other than if they put something on the outside.
This is all nullified by, if you change, like, it's all nullified by if you're changing the building. I believe the rules, like, if you have the building today, let's say it's 4,000 square feet, you add 1,000 square feet to that, that's right at 20%. But if you change a building by more than 20%, the footprint, it has to come back to planning commission. Less than 20%, we can review it administratively.
I was just thinking of storage on the outside.
Yeah. So in the C2 district, contractor office is conditional use. Outdoor storage is conditional use. So if the contractor wants to do outdoor storage, they have to come back to planning commission.
Okay. That's what I thought. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, my comment now,
Sorry.
the ones in red that are line drawn through them, previously they were in permitted use, like, for example, public parks.
Correct.
It was. And now, so if a public park is a public park and they want to continue to make it a public park, but for some reason they change the name of it or whatever, it's still there. But now that it's in conditional, if somebody takes it over, then is that where that ties in, or what? I'm just thinking about specifically about the parks. Why do we move that from permitted to conditional?
Mostly because the private park part of that,
Okay.
less concerns about a public park. There's a lot of feedback that the city could receive in many ways, but a private park can encompass, according to our definitions, it could be, well, in my 20 years, I don't think we've had a private park, but the definition leaves it a little bit open. I'm trying to think, yeah, I mean, the expansion of 50 North, the walking tracks outside, if that was on a separate parcel, that could be considered a private park.
Okay.
And just circling back to this morning, the contractor, the other thing about a conditional use. So we put about 5 conditions on it. If they fail to meet those conditions, the use can be revoked, where a permitted use cannot be revoked. It's a right. So
So part of moving a private park, I guess under this, is that there are conditions. So if you want to create a private park, it's got these conditions. But if you don't continue to maintain or fulfill those conditions, the conditional use could be taken away. If it becomes,
in my 20 years, we've never
encountered
we've never
it.
revoked a conditional use, but we have used it to say you're not in compliance. Come back to City Planning Commission. There's a discussion with Planning Commission. Neighbors show up. Everyone vents their concerns, and then the issues are addressed. So that's what happens.
it gives a forum for people to be able to discuss it and problems brought to light, essentially.
Correct. And then I would say, in weighing this all out, a conditional use application is a very easy thing to apply for. It's simply filling out a form. It's not like you need engineered drawings and you're spending $30,000 getting this application ready. It's the application fee. What's the application fee now, Eric?
$250.
Yeah, 250.
So the most
200.
onerous part of it is the application fee. But we have had people, we've alerted them that they need to file for a conditional use, and they've returned it to us a half an hour later, or filled it out at the front counter. So it is not a burdensome, in my opinion, application. The fee and the time, or the 30 days that it takes for the review, are the two most burdensome items to it.
So Matt, I agree with what Heather was saying here. Thank you for putting this together for me. And I was trying to just create examples of what I've seen over the years. And the one that came to mind was the old Ace Hardware, and now it's turned into a places of worship. So that was a right. That was, they didn't.
Yeah.
They just had to bring it to you, and there was
Yeah.
no discussion.
So that did not go to City Planning Commission
Okay.
because they were not expanding the building.
Yep.
Yeah.
So that
And
makes sense.
It went to downtown design review.
Yeah.
But it did not have to go to Planning Commission.
All right. Thank you. I understand it now.
And just a special note, places of worship, they have a little extra protection in terms of freedom of speech, freedom of religion.
Mm-hmm.
So as a planner, whenever a church wants to do something, it's like, kid gloves.
Understand.
Any questions about the 01 changes? Any concerns about those?
Nice.
All right, C1.
C1, like I said, this is local commercial. This is a little closer to residential places in general, and it's kind of meant to serve kind of a local neighborhood or an area. But so we've got professional services, restaurants with no drive-through or pickup windows. That was a result of the South Main McDonald's that, if you weren't aware, it was a really big topic, packed full, So we added no drive-through or pickup windows for the restaurants there. But the things that I'm proposing to move, bed and breakfast, convenience stores, community center, fraternal organization, and private clubs. And we're happy if you see something on that list, like, hey, maybe we should move that to conditional, or vice versa, please let me know. But those 5 things we propose moving to conditional uses. The one that I feel most strongly about is convenience stores. Just the amount of traffic that they create really deserves, and the amount of people going in and out and the lighting and everything, I think it really deserves an opportunity to revisit and have Planning Commission take a look when one is created. Like I said, conditional use doesn't mean we're not going to approve it. It just gives the city an opportunity to weigh in and try to mitigate issues before they arise
Before
for
they
the neighbors.
happen. Mhm.
And in my 20 years, the number of conditional uses, probably 2 or 3 have been denied, and probably 150 have been approved.
You remember an example?
No.
I have a question, that are any of these movements, they're all just moving forward? They're not retroactive? In other words, somebody was originally, for example, a fraternal organization, just say they were permitted?
Yeah.
And once this comes in effect, are they, now it's conditional, or is it just, are they grandfathered in?
But yeah, very good question. Only in rare instances, and I can't even think of an example, zoning is always moving forward. When you go backwards, you are infringing on people's property rights. You know, you have the Moose Lodge, and it's there, and now it may be a conditional use. They don't have to come back, and they just continue to operate as the Moose Lodge indefinitely. This will not affect them.
Okay. Yeah, I'm a Moose member, that's why.
Okay.
Eh.
Oh, you thought of one, Jake?
Brad, an example of a conditional use being denied was the Kroger gas station that they had proposed. It was going to go on the rear of the property, directly abutting residential, and given the how tiny of an area that was, and the fact that it didn't really link well with the existing parking area.
Good example.
Yeah.
And that was the 6th Street Kroger.
Yeah. I
Right.
remember. Thank you.
Interesting.
Looking at C1, anything on there you think should be moved anymore?
I just had one comment on the bed and breakfasts. So previously in a council meeting, we were talking about how many bed and breakfasts there were, it was a meeting that I attended for city council, and they said there's only like 12. There's tons. Do they have to report to the city of Findlay? Do they have to register with the city? Because there are Airbnbs, there's Verbos, they're all over Findlay. And if we're looking for housing, and everybody's turning their house into a moneymaker, which God bless America, make that money. But, I mean, I might be off the track, but making it conditional, would that bring it more to the front of the page where we would know how many bed and breakfasts we have?
It will. It will. They are conditional. I believe are they conditional in C2? They're conditional in a
Yes.
lot of other districts. To your point, yes. As a planner and as cities, we always new things emerge. Airbnbs are a new thing. I know they've been around for a while, but cities are still trying. How should we deal with these? And there's also legislation at the state, I believe, right now that takes away any authority for cities to regulate them. So there's that. There's state level issues too. I am not in favor of that. I feel like cities should retain some of their authority. Eric, do you know the state of that legislation by chance?
No clue. We can ask Rob Feitner.
But those are more often in residential and not in these business and commercial use
Correct.
districts. Okay.
But and to that point, that's one of the reasons that one of the reasons I'd prefer it to be a conditional use.
When we're looking at it in these particular districts.
Yeah,
Okay. Because we're not looking at any residential.
we're not
that's
looking
part
at
of it.
any residential in this. I have no recommendation for residential changes of permitted or conditional.
Okay. All right, if we don't have any questions on C1, let's move C2.
Okay, C2, which is our regional commercial district, and I always think of Tiffin Avenue, think of Trenton Avenue, think of Walmart, malls, Target, oil change facilities, McDonald's. That's C2. So there are a couple recommendations. Automotive sales, move to conditional. Lumber yards, move to conditional, which, you know, it's almost outdated, but, and then taxi services and minor automotive repair services. So, and I believe clubs, we just, okay. I was actually just, and that's what, I was actually just recommending that we delete lumberyard. Because it's kind of an outdated use that you buy your lumber from Lowe's.
I was thinking
or-
as almost a retail
Yeah.
trade almost, correct?
There's a lot of gray lines with,
Because when you're talking Menards and they have a lumber yard, it'd be
Yeah.
considered retail.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, if someone wanted to, a lumber-only facility, we'd say, yeah, it's permitted under retail, but then it has to be fully contained within the building. Outdoor storage is a conditional use. So we kind of nip it in the bud
It's
either
probably
way.
Either
left
way.
over from the days when we had a lumber yard down at the corner of Crawford and Southwest.
Sure.
Yeah, a lot of codes you'll see.
And I don't think we have any of those anymore. They've all
Yeah.
been smited by the big guys.
Could
Yeah.
somebody with wanting to open a big pallet farm call that lumber?
No, that would be industrial.
Pellets?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, because they're not selling to anyone, and actually it's not contained in a building. So someone wanting to open a pallet farm in the city of Findlay we would have every ability to say no to that. I don't even know. We would consider that probably I2, the heaviest industrial. Now, if they did the pallet farm completely within a building, we would be fine with that. But no one processes pallets completely within a building. Or if they do, we don't know about it, and that's great, because it's
Because they're
contained.
contained. Got it.
Yeah.
Really, the automotive repair and sales, automotive sales and the minor automotive repair, it's because, and like the item today, sometimes, you know, dead center in Tiffin Avenue, great, automotive sales works perfectly. But there are areas of C2 that are a little closer to residential, et cetera. And it's more in thought of those places than Tiffin Avenue.
Got it.
But to the process, if, let's say, Tesla wanted to build a new dealership in Findlay, and it was on Tiffin Avenue, they would submit 2 applications at the same time, an application for conditional use, and they'd submit their site plan. And it's on Tiffin Avenue, and everything looks great, it'd get approved. It's more of, you know, oh, this is C2 and it's right next to this neighborhood, and you know, the lot's very small. You know, we've all seen these like small mom and pop car dealerships where they stacked cars on top of each other, and that's more in mind of what we're thinking.
Okay.
And then we added a conditional use, because this is one of these gray areas that we've been dealing with, and that's drug rehabilitation facilities. And so we really had a drug rehabilitation clinic where you do not stay overnight. We have treated as just a medical office if they have a doctor or medical staff on site. And then drug rehabilitation facility where you spend the night, you know, let's say you spend 30 days there, that was falling under convalescent homes. Eric can attest, we've had a lot of questions and inquiries about drug rehabilitation facilities, and we thought it would be helpful to call them by their name rather than fitting them into medical office or convalescent homes.
This doesn't cover like halfway houses.
No,
Okay.
Unless-
people that are already there. I mean, obviously, if you have an addiction, you rehab the rest of your life.
sure.
But where they're working their way back and they have a job and they're getting counseling and all that stuff in a halfway house, that wouldn't be considered under this.
Correct. Well, one, this is the C2 commercial, which does not allow for residential. A halfway house would fall under more of a residential
yeah,
type
yeah,
use.
yeah.
But no, I mean, that's a good question. This is the clinic where you get your medication each day or each week, however that works, or the facilities where you spend, you enroll for 30 days. Yes.
So is this something that we already have in the city?
Yeah, we have both, yes.
Okay. And will this change make it harder for us to have more if needed, or will it make it easier to have more if needed? Help me understand the process, I guess.
I feel like it's somewhat neutral in that a convalescent home is a conditional use. But convalescent home, I don't believe, is in commercial.
I don't remember seeing it.
So the ones that we currently have, what category are they in? Like, what bucket do they fit in?
What is Manor Hill? Do you know?
Sorry.
Oh,
No.
they're in O1 convalescent homes.
Okay. So
So
I think
conditional
I think
use.
Manor Hill might be office.
It's office district, yeah.
Yeah. So, in essence, this adds a category where they were not permitted before. The overnight one.
Okay.
I understand this is, what I'll clearly say, this is not an attempt to, we don't want drug treatment facilities in Findlay. It's more of an attempt of, let's have them in the correct place, more so. And this would add the ability to have an overnight drug facility in C2.
So then that it would open it up, so there would be two places, two categories they could be in, or now they would only be allowed in that one category?
So what we should do, and this is a good, we should have a discussion, or I should just keep convalescent home and add drug rehab facility.
We should be clear. This goes back about 10 years ago when we tried to implement one of these in, I think it was Ward 2, over there in the Country Club edition on Imperial Lane. That's when all this got fired. Remember that one?
That was different.
Yeah, that was more of a, that fell under like recovery home.
Yeah, that's not the same.
Yeah. So, no, I remember that. I mean, Eric, do you want to speak on this a little bit? You received most of the calls.
So I didn't mean to confuse it too,
No,
but
no,
I
no.
thought they were intertwined here.
So
Sorry.
with
This is the commercial district.
Okay.
That neighbor, that's a
But-
residential
Yeah, but that's what
discussion.
got to this.
so with the
all
overnight
defined.
rehab centers, the biggest the thing that started it all was the Manor Hill facility. We went through two different processes at that time. And this being a conditional use, that was an existing facility that was already ready to be used. Conditional uses gives the neighborhood a chance to put input into that, whether it leans in one way or not, maybe, but it gives them a chance to voice their issues that they may have with the property. What I get a lot is abandoned nursing homes. People want to come in and do these overnight recovery centers, and they're in the middle of a neighborhood. So going from a nursing home to a rehab center, there's a little bit more of an intensity issue that the neighborhood, it may not necessarily fit into a neighborhood like a nursing home would. So putting this in here like it is gives the city and a little bit more teeth in action, allows them to gain a little bit more feedback on whether something should fit in that neighborhood or not.
So we're saying we're basically switching it, so you can no longer place them in an O1 zone. Now they can't be in an office district. Now if you're going to have a drug rehabilitation facility, it's got to be C2. I guess no, it could be an O1 still, and C1 would be all.
Yeah,
You'd have the ability to do.
My intent, so one, the intent is we get these calls and then they're like, well, we're a medical office. And I'm like, and then it's like, so if you came for a drug rehab clinic today, you would get approved permitted use as a medical office. Long as you provide, if you have a doctor on site, and they do. But more it's the overnight facility for 30 days. And then they may claim, well, we're a doctor's office. And it's like, well, but people stay there for 30 days. I've not stayed at my doctor's office for 30 days.
Yeah.
I mean, I could get the straight jacket any day. So really, from a staff standpoint, we like to name what it is rather than arguing with an attorney what it could be or what it kind of is like.
Which is what brought up the changes in the first place. We didn't have microdistillery listed.
Yes.
Something like that. So we're being clear on operations going forward.
So now we've brought up a good conversation. My intent and recommendation is that drug rehab facility, I think we need to have a conversation on what districts do we want a clinic and what districts do we want facilities.
I agree.
Because honestly, when I put this in here, I was like, clarification, I didn't think about, O1, C1, C2. So we need to have that conversation.
Right.
Now, from a standpoint of, to me, the conversations are different for a facility, which is 30 days or whatever, versus a clinic, which is, more of a medical office. But I think we should have that conversation. And I think probably my recommendation for all this is we've absorbed it, and let's meet up next month and talk about it some more. Because people who heard that, there might be people will have conversations with you.
Right.
So.
And maybe a facility versus a clinic is a very different use. So could we separate it?
Yeah. And I would like time to digest that and take a look at which districts would I recommend them in.
Okay.
And then you guys have your opinions and we'll discuss it.
And we're also going to want to add more clear definitions for each that we have.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that will be facilitated through you guys as well because it is a zoning code update.
Okay.
So.
Yeah, I did not
I'm
include.
sure we'll have to define it.
Yeah. My intent, I will include the definitions in next month's packet.
Thank you.
Thanks, Matt. Anyone have more questions on C2? Okay. C3.
Okay, so C3 is downtown commercial. It's purple on the map if you're curious. But it encompasses most of our dense urban area. Some things about C3, there's no setback requirements. Obviously, the buildings can be built right next to each other. There's no parking requirement because of the urban area. And if there was a parking requirement, it would make it very difficult to build anything new in the future. And also, having no parking requirement in your downtown zoning is pretty common. So sometimes people hear that and are shocked a little bit, but if you want to build a new apartment building, a 30, if you want to develop the Argyle lot and you have to have 110 parking spaces, the Argyle lot's never going to be developed, because you would be encouraged to knock down the neighboring building to build a parking lot, and that's detrimental to a downtown. So that's just a few random things about the C3 district. But bed and breakfast, bars, taverns, nightclubs, convenience stores, taxi services, clubs, parking lots, ramps, decks meaning like parking garage, moving those from permitted to conditional. And adding microbrewery and boutique distillery.
I just had a question come to
Yeah.
mind, and that is on the taxi cabs. We have 2 legitimate taxi cab services in town. 2, 3. What do we have? USA. We have.
He said 2.
I think there's 2.
I think it's 2. Okay. Do they have actually facilities where they dispatch out of, and where they park their cars and all that stuff, or?
So yeah, and I've not been. I know there's discussions about taxi cabs going on. I have not
Yeah.
informed myself
Yeah.
about that.
This
too
has
well.
this has nothing
This
to do
has
with
to do. This is where their office is and where they store their cars.
Yeah.
That's
yeah,
the only.
Yeah.
That's
Because I have a business at 102 Crystal Avenue, and it was like homeless taxi cabs would live at my karate school all night. They'd be there all day till they get a call, and they leave because it's right by the convenience store. It's right by Circle K.
sure.
And like my lot would be just like carpeted with cigarette butts. And I didn't contact the owner, but I told the guy in the car, I said, if you guys don't pick up your cigarette butts, then I'm going to consider you all trespassing. I'm going to call the shop down here at City Hall and say, if any of these cars is on my lot, they're trespassing, and there are going to be legal problems. And it kind of cleaned it up, but I'm just saying, is there a place where they are supposed to hang out?
So I'm not. I know we've had discussions, and taxi cab has, but in this term, it's not how they're picking up people or where they're driving. It's just where at night do they park in their offices.
Yeah, okay. All right, thanks.
And then museums is new.
Yes, museums.
Okay.
Yeah.
I know this is not in these districts, Matt. Electrical vehicle charging stations. We don't regulate those in homes. So
No.
if you, okay.
No, but in that we changed that a couple years ago, or really, it's one of those new things that
Right.
aren't in
It's an
there.
addition.
But yeah, so I believe electric charging stations are a conditional use in all these commercial districts. And we've reviewed a couple. I think at the Denny's by the highway, I think has some charging stations there. And but yeah, to your point, which is probably the quick answer. At home, no, it's just
Perfect.
for public ones.
Just public ones. Thank you.
Would this cover, let's say, the parking lots at the Sherman House? Probably yes. Because I foresee it someday having to have some source. We have well over 100 parking spots down there, and electrical vehicles are going to be.
Yeah, so.
That might help us rent someday.
Yeah,
So we'd come to you on
if
this one?
if you said to me right now after the meeting, hey, we want to put in 5 electrical charging spots.
Yeah.
I'd say conditional use, and then you go to planning commission.
Okay.
And you'd say, this is where they're going to be, and they'd say,
Good job.
wonderful.
Or the parking garage downtown. If they
Yeah,
they want to add these into the parking
Yeah.
garage someday, they will.
and then add parking lots, ramps, decks. So if you want to create a new parking lot, or parking garage, it would be a condition.
Got it.
Any other questions about this particular use, guys? Perfect. Anything else you wanted to add, Matt?
No. Other than I think I will make changes, and I will get those changes out to you sooner than I did with this one, probably about at least 10 days before the next meeting, probably 2 weeks before the meeting. And then if you have any questions or concerns or comments, or say, you know, hey, I got some feedback, let's move these 3 things around, just let me know, email me, call me. We can, then I'll make changes if needed, and then we'll meet up again next month to discuss.
I am disappointed that we didn't get to use a pointer.
I know.
It's all right, bro.
So if you could,
So for right now, we have no recommendation. We're just going to take a minute. I think we should look through it and see if there's other things or if we get feedback on any of the current proposed changes. Correct?
Yeah, I have one administrative question. Like, we get our packets before council, like on a Friday. When you have them done, do you think they could be printed and put on a table? We could come and grab them?
That's
Because I
Denise.
was late because I printed mine out before I got here because I didn't know I'd have one when I got here.
Yeah.
I think it's
go ahead.
Denise we'd ask.
So for the planning commission agenda, I set that out about 2 weeks in advance. I provide that to Denise, and then she puts it in the planning and zoning packet, I think. So yeah, I get the city planning commission comments done about a week ahead of the meeting. So I usually just send it to Denise and Kathy to put it on the website, but I could print out some extra copies for her to have available.
That'd be
That's-
great.
All right. I think, do we have to do a motion to adjourn one of these meetings, Ms. Nicole?
I'm sorry?
I probably would just do a motion to
This is
adjourn.
your meeting, Miss Heather, but I would say it doesn't hurt anything.
Okay, motion to adjourn.
I'd second that if we need to.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right. Thanks, Matt.
thank you. I'm returning my pointer. Where'd you get the laser? You handed him out.